The moment I stopped paying for everyone else's life, my family decided they didn't need me anymore. My own family sent the message on a random Tuesday evening. No warning. No build-up. Just one sentence that landed on my phone like a locked door. We need distance from you. Please stop contacting us completely. I stood in the middle of my small apartment, still holding a mug I hadn't taken a sip from. The room was quiet in that way that makes you aware of your own breathing. No shouting. No argument. Just silence and a sentence that felt permanent. Instead of begging, instead of asking what I'd done wrong, I typed the calmest reply I've ever written. They had no idea what that moment was about to cost them. My name is Maris Whitmore, and for most of my life, I've been the person people handed problems to without asking. Like it was assumed I had extra space, extra strength, extra money. I work in payroll at a mid-sized medical center in the city. Numbers, schedules, precision. I like things that balance, things that make sense. My apartment reflects that. Neutral colors. Clean counters. Bills filed in folders by month. Nothing luxurious, just stable. And in my family, stability has always meant one thing: I pay. My father, Leonard, loves to say, family takes care of family. He usually says it with a heavy sigh, like the words themselves are a burden he's carrying. My mother, Carol, prefers guilt delivered softly. She'll trail off mid-sentence, stand at the sink, dry her hands slowly, and let the silence finish the job for her. Then there's my brother, Evan. Evan is younger than me by 3 years and louder by an entire personality. Growing up, he always knew how to pull attention toward himself. New clothes. New plans. New crises. He calls me the calculator. Half joke, half reminder. Fully convenient whenever he needs rent help, a phone bill covered, or a temporary loan. Every time I tried to say no, the same chorus followed. You're overthinking it. He's struggling. You're the responsible one. Even extended relatives played their parts. Our family group chat was full of photos, jokes, updates, until money came up. Then the tone sharpened. Suddenly everyone remembered how much my parents had done for me, how Evan deserved support, how I shouldn't make things uncomfortable. No one ever asked what it cost me. The only person who never asked for anything was my aunt's brother, Cole, my uncle by marriage, though he never cared about titles. He runs a small moving business. Strong hands. Few words. He watched more than he spoke. At the time, I didn't realize how much that mattered. For years, I told myself this was normal. Every family has roles. Mine just happened to involve covering emergencies, filling gaps, smoothing things over. It wasn't personal, I said. It was just how things worked. But every time I opened my banking app, something tightened in my chest. Every time my own plans got postponed so theirs could move forward, a quiet resentment settled deeper. The shift didn't happen all at once. It started with small moments that didn't roll off like they used to. It began, as it often did, with Evan. He showed up at my parents' apartment wearing a brand new jacket, the tag still stiff inside the collar. He talked about a better place he wanted across town, one with security and parking. He didn't look at me when he said it. You'll help with the deposit, right? He asked casually, scrolling through his phone. I said no. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just a steady, practiced no. My father froze. My mother stopped moving entirely. That was all it took. The room shifted. Suddenly I was the selfish one. Evan smiled. Relax. It's not that serious. I left early, sat in my car with the engine off, and wondered why a simple boundary felt like a betrayal. 2 days later, my work phone rang. I answered with my professional voice, only to hear my parents' landlord cheerfully thanking me for covering a late fee and confirming the renewal of my automatic deposit agreement. An agreement I hadn't authorized. He mentioned my work email. My schedule. Information I had never given permission to share. I stared at the wall while he talked, heat crawling up my neck. They hadn't just used my money. They'd crossed into my professional life like it belonged to them. That evening, I went straight to their apartment. I stood in the living room, the same couch I'd helped by sagging under years of use, and said words I'd swallowed for a decade. I deserve to know what I'm paying for. My father crossed his arms. You're being disrespectful. My mother said, we feel attacked. Evan laughed from the hallway. Do you want interest on it too? It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was casual cruelty, delivered with ease. I left before I finished my sentence. The next day, the message arrived. We need distance from you. Please stop contacting us completely. Something inside me didn't break. It clicked. I honored their request exactly as written. The minutes after that message felt suspended, like time slowed just enough to make sure I understood what had happened. My family hadn't asked for space. They had issued a verdict. No discussion. No clarification. Just a clean break, delivered in a sentence short enough to pretend it wasn't cruel. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone still glowing in my hand until the screen dimmed on its own. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anger yet. What settled over me instead was something colder and clearer than any emotion I'd known before. If this was the distance they wanted, I would respect it completely. An hour later, my phone rang. Cole. He never called without a reason. When I answered, his voice was calm, careful, like he was choosing each word before letting it out. "I'm at your parents' place," he said. "They asked me to help pack." I blinked. "Pack, what?" "Everything," he replied quietly. "Clothes. Dishes. Photos. They're moving out." The weight of that landed slowly. They weren't just cutting contact. They were erasing themselves. Leaving without explanation, without accountability, without even facing me. Cole paused before adding, "I'll make sure anything with your name on it comes back to you." That was Cole. No sides. Just truth. After we hung up, I walked to the drawer where I kept my receipts. The ones I told myself were, just in case. I pulled them out and spread them across the floor. Rent. Utilities. Transportation. Medical bills. Subscriptions. Groceries. Years of quiet support itemized in ink and faded paper. I sorted them by color, like I always had. Green for housing. Yellow for utilities. Blue for transportation. Red for medical. Purple for everything else they never remembered I paid for. Kneeling there on the hardwood, I finally saw it without excuses. This wasn't help. This wasn't love. This was dependence disguised as duty. And I had been the structure holding up a house that never made space for me. That night, Elias came over. He didn't knock loudly. Just one soft tap before letting himself in, the way someone does when they're trying not to intrude on something fragile. "They texted you," he said, not asking. I slid the phone across the table. He read the message once, then again, jaw tight but eyes steady. "You didn't deserve that," he said. I surprised myself by not crying. "I'm done," I said simply. Elias sat on the floor with me among the piles of paper. "Then let's start with one thing," he said. "Show me what you've been carrying." I handed him the green stack first. He didn't rush. He didn't interrupt. He read like someone finally understanding the full story after only hearing fragments for years. The next morning, I sat across from Dr. Anika Rao, my therapist, and told her everything. The message. The packing. The years of financial entanglement I'd mistaken for loyalty. She listened, then said something that rewired something in my brain. "Ending financial dependence isn't abandonment," she said. "It's self-preservation." By the time I left her office, my hands were steady. When I got home, my phone was alive again. The family group chat, silent for days, had erupted. "Evan first. Where are you? Why aren't you answering?" Then my father. "You're being dramatic again." If they wanted distance, why were they demanding my attention? I scrolled back to the original message. "Please stop contacting us completely." I walked to my kitchen table, laid out the receipts, and took photos of each category. One by one. Clear. Undeniable. Then I opened the group chat and typed my response. "I'm honoring your request for distance. Attached is a summary of the payments I've been making on your behalf. All of these will end on the dates marked. Please transfer the leases and accounts into your own names within 30 days. I attached the images. Then added one final line. "I'll be canceling my direct deposits today." For 2 minutes, there was silence. Then panic. My mother, "What does this mean?" My father, "Money isn't family." "Evan, you're doing this to embarrass us." Typing bubbles appeared and disappeared like nervous ticks. I replied once. "Your message asked for no contact. I'm respecting that." The calls started immediately. One after another. I didn't answer. An hour later, a private message came through. "Cole again. I'm dropping off some boxes tonight," he wrote. "Things with your name on them." They didn't open them. When he arrived, he placed 3 boxes gently on my floor. Inside were unopened household items I'd bought over the years. Still sealed. Still unused. "You did more than they ever admitted," Cole said quietly. That night, the group chat shifted from anger to pleading. My mother, please don't do this. My father, after everything we gave you. Evan, how am I supposed to manage now? I answered only once. I'm not discussing money anymore. At midnight, one final message appeared from my father. If you do this, you're dead to us. I stared at the screen, waiting for the pain to hit. It didn't. I'm sorry you feel that way, I typed. Then I placed my phone face down and slept for the first full night I'd had in years. By morning, the silence felt unnatural. Not peaceful yet, just unfamiliar. The kind of quiet that rings in your ears after years of constant noise. I made coffee and sat at my small kitchen table, waiting for anxiety to rush in like it always did. It didn't. Instead, I opened my laptop and finished what I had started. Passwords changed. Automatic payments cancelled. Shared accounts removed. Each confirmation email felt like cutting a thread that had been wrapped too tightly around my chest for too long. I didn't rush. I didn't second-guess myself. I moved carefully, deliberately, the way you do when you finally understand that one wrong step could pull you back into something you barely escaped. Later that week, I met with Dr. Rao again. I told her I felt lighter and terrified at the same time. She smiled gently. Peace feels dangerous when chaos is familiar. That sentence stayed with me. The fallout came in waves. First, the extended family. Messages from people who had never once asked how much I was carrying. This is extreme. Families sacrifice for each other. You could have handled this better. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I simply didn't respond. Instead, I uploaded one final document to the group chat before muting it completely. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't defensive. It was practical. Rental assistance links. Utility provider contacts. Budget templates. Local resources. Tools to stand on their own. At the bottom, I typed one sentence. You are capable. You always have been. Then I left the chat. The quiet afterward wasn't empty. It was wide. Elias noticed the change before I did. You walk differently now, he said one evening as we ate takeout on the couch. Like you're not bracing for impact. He was right. I wasn't waiting for my phone to buzz. I wasn't scanning conversations for hidden requests. I cooked without calculating how much I might need to send someone later. Time stretched. Space appeared. A week later, Cole stopped by again. This time without boxes. They're struggling, he said carefully. Not in danger. Just adjusting. I nodded. That wasn't my responsibility anymore. Then something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. Not a text. Not an email. A handwritten envelope in my father's rigid block letters. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the counter for 2 days, proving to myself that I didn't need to know what was inside to survive. When I finally did open it, the words were familiar. Duty. Loyalty. Sacrifice. No apology. No acknowledgement of harm. Just a warning that I was breaking the family and would regret choosing independence over obligation. I folded the letter and placed it in the same drawer where the receipts used to live. Not as evidence. As closure. The real shift came a month later, when my mother showed up at my door. No call. No warning. She looked smaller somehow. Not fragile, just stripped of certainty. I didn't think you'd actually stop, she said. I said I would, I replied calmly. She stepped inside, eyes scanning my apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. The clean counters. The quiet. The space that belonged only to me. You could help, she said softly. Just a little. Until we figure things out. I met her gaze. I already did. For years. She nodded slowly, like the truth was finally heavy enough to sink in. I don't know how to talk to you now, she admitted. You can start by respecting me, I said. She left without asking again. That night, Elias held my hand while we sat on the balcony, city lights humming below us. You didn't lose a family, he said. You lost a role that was killing you. For the first time, I believed him. The weeks turned into months. My finances stabilized in ways I hadn't imagined possible. I opened a savings account that wasn't immediately drained. I planned a trip without wondering who might need help that week. And slowly, something else happened. I started hearing my own thoughts again. Not the rehearsed explanations. Not the guilt scripts. Just me. I learned that love without respect isn't love. That boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. And that walking away doesn't mean you never cared. Sometimes it means you cared enough about yourself to stop disappearing. One evening, as I closed my laptop after work, a notification popped up. A new message request. From Evan. Just one line. I didn't realize how much you were doing. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the app. Some realizations come too late to change the outcome. But they still matter. Because they prove the truth was always there. I didn't lose my family. I found myself. The message from Evan stayed unread for days. Not because I was afraid of it, but because I finally understood something that used to escape me. Closure doesn't always come from conversation. Sometimes it comes from distance doing its quiet work. Life kept moving. Not dramatically. Not with fireworks. Just steadily, like it should have all along. I started using my evenings differently. I took long walks without headphones, letting the city fill the silence that used to be occupied by anxiety. I cooked meals that weren't rushed. I slept through the night without waking up to phantom vibrations from my phone. One afternoon, I ran into Cole again at a grocery store near my place. He looked tired, but calmer. "They're still adjusting," he said. "Your sibling found a second job. Your other parent finally set up their own accounts." I nodded. No pride. No guilt. Just acknowledgement. "That's good," I said. He hesitated. "They still talk about you. Mostly about how they didn't realize how much depended on you." "I didn't realize either," I replied. That was the truth. I had mistaken endurance for strength for too long. A few weeks later, I received another letter. This one was shorter. No lectures. No demands. Just a few uneven sentences. It said they were learning. That things were harder than expected. That silence had made space for reflection, even if it came with resentment. It didn't ask me to come back. It didn't apologize. But it didn't accuse me either. I placed the letter in the drawer beside the first one. Not forgiveness. Not rejection. Just acceptance of where things stood. That night, Elias and I sat on the floor assembling a small bookshelf I'd bought. It leaned slightly to the left, imperfect but sturdy. "This one's yours," he said, tightening the final screw. "Built without pressure." I smiled. Months passed. Therapy stopped being about crisis management and started becoming about rebuilding identity. Dr. Rao asked me questions I'd never been asked before. What do you want your life to feel like? Not look like. Not provide. Feel like. The answer surprised me. I want it to feel honest, I said. Even when it's uncomfortable. That became my compass. I stopped over-explaining. I stopped apologizing for boundaries. I stopped translating myself into versions that felt easier for others to accept. And then something unexpected happened. Peace stopped feeling fragile. It became solid. One evening, my phone buzzed. A single message. From my parent. "I see now that we asked too much. I don't know how to fix it. But I wanted you to know I see it." I stared at the words. Not with relief. Not with anger. With clarity. I typed back one sentence. "Thank you for saying that." Nothing more. Nothing less. I didn't reopen old doors. I didn't rush reconciliation. I let the truth stand on its own. Because the biggest change wasn't in them. It was in me. I no longer needed them to understand in order to move forward. I had learned that being needed is not the same as being valued. That love shouldn't cost you your peace. And that walking away from dysfunction doesn't make you disloyal, it makes you brave. My apartment still isn't fancy. The counters are still clean. The receipts drawer is gone. In its place is something better. Space. For rest. For choice. For a future that doesn't require me to disappear to keep others comfortable. If you've ever been told you were too much the moment you stopped giving everything, this is your reminder. You weren't too much. You were just no longer convenient. And choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.